A cold autumn wind blows strongly. It tears yellow leaves from the trees. People walk quickly, hiding their faces in their collars. Gene walks along the sidewalk. His steps are quick and firm. He has just stepped out of a black car. His assistants are waiting in the car. Jin looks ahead. He's minding his own business. Everything is clear in his world. There's no room for surprises. A girl runs out of a narrow passage between the houses. She's wearing a bright pink jacket. Her long hair is flying around. She runs, looking back, and can't see the road. She crashes hard into Jin. He's big and strong. The girl bounces back and almost falls. Jin automatically grabs her shoulder. He holds her. Irritation appears in his eyes. Someone has impeded his progress. The girl raises her head. Jin sees her face. She is small, about 7 years old. Her skin is dark, her eyes very large. But now there is nothing childish in those eyes, only pure fear. Her lips tremble. She grabs his dark coat with both hands. Her fingers grip the fabric so tightly that they turn white. She pulls him down. Jin leans down. His face is next to hers. She whispers. Her voice is quiet, but very clear. "Hide me!" Jin freezes. His mind is racing. A girl, alone, panicking. Someone is chasing her. He doesn't see any adults around chasing her. At that moment, 2 men emerge from the passageway. They walk slowly, but their eyes dart quickly along the street. They look left, right, under cars. They are clearly looking for someone. Their gaze glides over Jin and the girl, pausing for a second. Jin doesn't think. He acts on instinct. He abruptly turns his back to the girl. His wide coat and tall body completely obscure her. To the men on the outside, he's simply an adult bending over a child. He pretends to adjust her hood. His large hand rests on her head, pressing her face into the coat. "Quiet," he whispers to her, his voice unusually soft. The girl freezes. She doesn't breathe. Jin looks ahead over her head. 2 men walk slowly past. One takes another quick glance. He sees the back of a man in an expensive coat. He sees a child's hood. He sees nothing suspicious. They move on. Gene waits. He counts the seconds in his mind. He waits until the men disappear around the street corner. Only then does he feel the girl begin to tremble. A slight shudder. She's still holding onto his coat. He slowly straightens up. He looks at his car. The driver looks at him. There's a question in his eyes. Jin nods. Wait. He looks at the girl. "Why?" he asks. Just one word. She shakes her head. She can't speak. She just looks at him. There's a pleading look in her eyes. Jin understands. He can leave now, get in the car and drive away. It would be right by his rules. But if he leaves, these men will find her. He is sure of it. He doesn't want them to find her. He doesn't know why, but he doesn't. "Okay," he says quietly. Gene opens the back door of his car. "Get in," he says. The girl looks at him, then at the car. She hesitates for a second. Then she quickly climbs inside. She is small on the big black seat. Jin sits down next to him. The door closes. "Let's go." "Quickly," he says to the driver. The car starts moving smoothly. It pulls out onto the street and merges with the flow of other cars. Jin doesn't look at the girl. He's looking out the side window. He's checking for surveillance. His face has become stony again. But now he has a new task on his mind. What to do with the girl? The girl sits pressed against her door. She looks at her lap. She tries not to touch him. She barely breathes. Only her pink jacket stands out brightly in the dark interior. The car pulls into the underground garage of a tall building. Everything is gray, clean, and quiet. The car stops in its place. Jin comes out. He opens the door for the girl. "Let's go," he says. She climbs out. She looks around the garage. It's empty and echoing. She involuntarily takes a step closer to Jin. Now he's the only familiar being in this strange place. They enter the elevator. Jin swipes the card. The elevator silently travels to the top. The doors open right into the apartment. It's a large space, high ceilings, huge windows. Outside the windows is the city at night. The lights. There are almost no things inside. A gray sofa, a glass table. Everything is very clean and empty, like a picture. No toys, no photographs, no traces of life. Gene hangs up his coat. He looks at the girl. She stands in the doorway, hesitant to come in. Her sneakers leave small wet marks on the shiny floor. "Come in," says Gene, pointing to the sofa. She walks carefully and sits down on the very edge of the sofa. She sits up straight. Her back doesn't touch the backrest. Gene goes into the kitchen. He opens the refrigerator. It's almost empty. Bottled water, drinks, cheese. No real food. He pours water into a glass and brings it to her. She takes the glass with both hands. She drinks in small sips. Her eyes look out the window, but she doesn't seem to see the city. She's looking inward. Jin sits down in the chair opposite. There's empty space between them. Silence. Jin waits, but the girl remains silent. Is your name Ami? He asks suddenly. The name just popped into his head. She looks at him slowly, nods. And you? Jin. She nods again. Ami, Jin says, his voice loud in the silence. Who are these people? Why are they looking for you? Ami shudders. She looks down. Her fingers fiddle with the zipper on her jacket. They came this morning. Her voice was quiet and hoarse. Mom looked through the peephole. Her face changed. She told me to run quickly to the balcony, hide in the box with my summer clothes, and don't come out, no matter what I heard. She falls silent, swallows. I climbed into the box and closed the lid. Then the door was broken. There was a loud noise. Then voices. Strange male voices. They were shouting something to Mom. Mom shouted once. Amy's voice breaks. She clutches her glass. Then it got quieter. I heard footsteps in my room. One man said, "Where's the girl? Without her, nothing will work." They knocked something over. Then they left. I heard the door slam. She takes a deep breath. I waited a long time. Then I crawled out. Mom was gone. The apartment was a mess. I put on my jacket and just ran. I ran until I saw you. Jin listens. His face doesn't change, but a picture forms in his head. They've come for the mother, but they're looking for the girl. The girl is the key to something. What about Dad? Jin asks. Ami's face turns sad. Dad went on a business trip a long time ago. Mom said he'd be back soon, but he never came back. Jin understands. The father is missing. The mother is taken. They're looking for the girl. This isn't a random attack. It's a plan. Evening falls. The apartment gets dark. The light comes on automatically. Jean realizes the baby needs to eat. He looks in the refrigerator. There's no food for the baby. He picks up the phone. He calls his assistant, Min. Bring some food. Simple. Soup. Something soft. And fruit, he says curtly. He doesn't explain why. 20 minutes later, Min brings bags of food. He walks into the apartment. He sees the girl on the couch. His eyes widen slightly, but he doesn't ask questions. He knows the rules. He simply puts the bags in the kitchen and leaves. Jin heats up the soup. He puts it in a bowl. He places it on the table in front of Amy. He puts down the spoon. Ami comes over slowly. She sits down. She eats very slowly. She's not hungry. She eats because she has to. Jin sits opposite. He doesn't eat. He drinks water. He doesn't know what to say. He's never dealt with children. Thank you, Amy says quietly when she finishes. Jin nods. You need to sleep, he says. He points down the hallway. That's the bedroom. The bed is clean. Amy gets up. She goes to the indicated room. She doesn't undress. She simply takes off her pink jacket, hangs it on a chair, and lies down on the bed on top of the blanket. She lies on her side, curled up. Jin stands in the doorway. He sees her eyes closed, but he knows she's not sleeping. Her eyelids are fluttering. He returns to the living room. He sees her jacket on the sofa. Something has fallen out of the pocket. It's a folded piece of paper. Jin comes over. He picks up the paper. It's a drawing, carefully folded several times. He unfolds it. The drawing shows 3 people drawn in colored pencil. A girl with long brown hair and a pink dress. A woman in a blue dress with a smile. A man in glasses and a shirt. They are all holding hands. At the bottom, in block letters, is the signature, My Family. But the background of the drawing is strange. It's neither a house nor a garden. It's a large yellow circle with rays. It looks like the sun, or a huge flower. Inside the circle are small windows, like in a house. Jin looks at the drawing for a long time, at the happy faces, at this sunny house. Then he carefully folds the sheet of paper and puts it back in his jacket pocket. He approaches the huge window. He looks out at the city below. His thoughts are racing. A girl named Amy, a missing father, a kidnapped mother, people searching for a child, a drawing of a strange, sunny house. It's none of his business. He has his own life, his own rules, his own affairs, but he's already intervened. He's hidden her. Now those people, if they're smart, might be looking for him too. That's a problem. And there's something else. The way she looked at him on the street, the way she said, "Hide me." There was so much trust in it. No one had ever shown him such trust. Jin turns away from the window. He looks at the bedroom door where Amy sleeps. He makes a decision. He won't give her up, not until he understands what's going on. Not until he's sure she's safe. He picks up the phone. Time to call Min again. But this time with different orders. He needs to start looking for information, very quietly. And in the bedroom, Amy lies with her eyes open. She stares at the ceiling. She listens to the quiet sounds of the apartment. Jin's footsteps, the ringing of his phone. She thinks about her mother. She thinks about the sunny house in her drawing. She thinks about the big stranger who hid her behind his coat. She closes her eyes tighter, and a tear slowly rolls down her cheek. Jin stands by the window. The night outside is deep. He holds his phone in his hand. The contact Ming is on the screen. Ming is his right-hand man. He solves problems without asking unnecessary questions. Jin presses the call button. The call doesn't last long. "I'm listening." Min's voice on the other end is calm and alert. He's always available. Jin speaks quietly, although besides him, there is only one sleeping woman in the apartment. "Ami, I need information. It's very quiet. A woman is missing. She has a 7-year-old daughter. The girl was rescued. The woman was taken this morning near the old city center. Find out everything you can. Who are these people, and why do they need the child?" A short pause. Min processes the information. "Do you have a description of the woman? Or an address?" "No, just what the girl said. Work backwards. Look for noise reports, calls, any rumors in the area today. Be very careful. If you feel you're stumbling upon someone else's interest, back away immediately." "Understood. It will be done," Min says, hanging up. He doesn't ask who the girl is or why Jin is doing this. Jin puts down the phone. His gaze falls again on the bedroom door. Silence. Too much silence for a house where a child sleeps. He's accustomed to a different kind of silence. Tense, full of hidden threats. This silence seems fragile to him. Several hours pass. It's early morning. Gray light filters through the huge windows. Jin's phone vibrates. It's Min. "Speak," Jin says, stepping out onto the balcony. The cool air is invigorating. "I found something. There really was a gang operating in that area. They kidnap people, usually family members of wealthy businessmen. Then they demand a ransom. They operate cleanly, leaving almost no trace. And?" Jin feels the butt. "But there were no women with children on their lists this week. I checked everyone that they'd been monitoring for the past month. Not a single family that fit the description. No connections to foreigners or scientists. Only local entrepreneurs." Jin is silent. So this isn't a standard ransom. It's something else. What else? The woman was indeed taken. Neighbors heard the noise but didn't call the police. They thought it was a domestic dispute. The description fits. Blonde hair, average height. But no one saw where she was taken. They didn't remember the car. "Okay, keep watching. Pay special attention to your father. He's on a long business trip. Find out where he works and what he does." "Understood." The conversation ends. Jin returns to the apartment. Mina's information doesn't clarify the picture. It only makes it stranger. Professional kidnappers, but not their specialty. Why would they need mother and daughter then? Jin approaches the open bedroom door. Ami is asleep. She's moved off the edge of the bed and now lies in the middle, covered with a blanket. Her face appears calm in the dawn light. But even in sleep, her brows are slightly furrowed. Jean looks at her. An ordinary girl. Sweet, scared, nothing special. In her pocket is a child's drawing. She talks about her dad on a business trip. She lived with her mom in an ordinary apartment. Why did these professionals break into their place? Why were they looking for the girl? "Without her, nothing will work," one of them said. What could she know? What could she have seen? She's 7 years old. She doesn't understand business, money, or anything that's important to adults. Or maybe her father left something? Said something? Gave her some toy or something important? Jin feels a slight irritation. He hates uncertainty. In his world, everything is clear. Friends, enemies, deals, boundaries. Here, however, there is a mystery. And at the center of this mystery, a child sleeps. The night passes restlessly. Jean dozes in the armchair in the living room. He is always a light sleeper. A sudden sound wakes him instantly. It's not a sound from the street. It's a scream. Short, piercing, full of terror. It comes from the bedroom. Jin jumps up and walks into the room. Ami is tossing and turning on the bed. Her eyes are closed, but tears are streaming down her face. She's muttering something in her sleep. "No, don't, Mom." Jin stands nearby. He doesn't know what to do. Wake her? Leave her? Ami screams again, quieter but more desperately. Jin sits carefully on the edge of the bed. He puts his hand on her shoulder, not shaking, just touching. "Ami, wake up." It's a dream, Amy shudders. Her eyes widen. She looks at him, not understanding where she is at first. Then she recognizes him. The terror in her eyes doesn't fade. She's shaking all over. It was a dream, Jin repeats. His voice sounds uncertain. He doesn't know how to comfort. Ami sits up. She hugs her knees with her arms and buries her face in them. Her shoulders shake with silent sobs. Jin waits. A minute, two. Ami finally lifts her head. Her cheeks are wet. I heard them again, she whispers. Those men. In the apartment. It was just a dream. They're not here. But they said, Ami sobs. They asked Mom about Dad's papers. They shouted, Where's the blue folder? He said he left it. And Mom said she didn't know. Jin listens carefully to every word. Blue folder? He asks. Ami nods, wiping her face with her hand. They repeated it many times. Blue folder. Then one said, The girl should know. He spent a lot of time with her. And then they started looking for me. Something clicks in Jin's head. Now everything makes a little more sense. Amy's father. He had something. Some information, documents, something valuable. He hid it in the blue folder. Or said he hid it. He left. Or was taken. Now those hunting for that folder have come to his family. They think his wife knows. Or that his daughter knows. The girl. Ami isn't just a random target. She's a witness. Perhaps even the keeper of the key. She might have seen that folder. Her father might have told her something that seems like a childish secret, but is actually a directive. Did he talk to you about work? Maybe play some special games? Ask you to hide anything? Jin asks. Amy thinks. She's still scared, but the question forces her to focus. Dad, he worked a lot on the computer. Sometimes he'd take me into his little study room. There were lots of books there, and a big map on the wall with stars. He called it the Project Sun map, like the one in my drawing. Jin remembers the drawing. A big yellow circle. A sunny house. Have you seen the blue folder? Amy shakes her head. I don't remember, but Dad had a lot of folders. Different colors. He would sort them. Okay, says Jin. Now go to sleep. I'm here. No one's coming. He doesn't plan to say such things. They come out on their own. Amy looks at him, then slowly lies down. She closes her eyes. This time her face relaxes a little. Jin leaves the room. Blue folder. Project Sun. Father is a scientist or researcher. This is no longer a casual kidnapping. This is something more serious. In the morning, Jin speaks with Min again. He gives him new information. The blue folder, the projects, his father's possible scientific work. Min listens. There's one more thing, boss, Min says. Our guys on the streets are reporting. Someone is actively searching for a girl. The description is spot on. 7 years old, dark-skinned, long hair, possibly wearing pink or brightly colored outerwear. They're questioning homeless people, small-time traders, very persistently. And, Min pauses, they've started asking about us, indirectly. They asked if we noticed any strange activity yesterday around the street you were on. Someone saw our car. Jin feels a chill. So they're not just looking for the girl. They're already on his trail. Or his organization's. Someone smart enough to connect the child's disappearance to the sudden appearance of his people in the area. These aren't the same kidnappers, Jean says out loud. They were targeted. This is a citywide search. So there's another party, the client, the one who hired these people to find the file. And he really wants it. What do you order us to do? Min asks. We're to curtail our usual activities. We're to keep a low profile. And we're looking for another location for me. Urgent. Top secret. Only you and I are to know the address. Understood. It will be ready by this evening. Amy wakes up in the afternoon. She goes into the living room. Jin sets out a simple breakfast on the table. Yogurt, a bun, and juice. He eats toast and drinks coffee. We're moving today, he tells her without preamble. Ami looks at him, stopping chewing. Is it unsafe here? Yes. People are looking for you. And they might know you're with me, Amy nods. She doesn't ask where. She's just finishing breakfast. Can I take my drawing? She asks quietly. Yes, just take the essentials. I'll buy new clothes on site. Ami goes into the bedroom. She puts on her pink jacket. She takes a folded drawing out of her pocket. She looks at it, then carefully places it in the inside pocket of her jacket, close to her heart. That's all she takes. An hour later, Min arrives in another, more discreet car. He nods silently to Amy. She climbs into the back seat. Jin sits next to him. They drive for a long time, winding through the city. Amy looks out the window, but seems unable to see the streets. The new apartment is in an old, unremarkable building. It's small, modest, but clean. It has 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, and windows overlooking the courtyard. "It'll be safer here," Jin says. Amy simply walks over and sits down on a chair by the kitchen table. She rests her hands on her knees and waits. A day passes in the new apartment. Jin brings food and new, simple clothes for Amy. He speaks on the phone in a quiet voice, giving orders. Amy is sitting on the living room floor. She's not crying. She's just sitting there. Then she starts humming something, very quietly, under her breath. It's a sad, slow melody. No words. Jin hears it. He interrupts the conversation. He listens. The melody is simple, yet memorable. It sounds like a lullaby or a folk song. Amy notices he's listening and falls silent. "What's that?" Jin asks. "Mom used to sing this when I was sad, or when Dad hadn't called in a while. She said it was her grandmother's song. From a faraway land." Jin nods. He remembers the tune. He doesn't know why, just in case. That evening, Jin meets Min in a neutral location, an empty warehouse on the outskirts. He hums the melody to him. Just a few notes. Mina's face changes. It turns pale. His eyes widen. "Boss, where did you hear that?" Amy hums. "It's her mother's song." "Why? Do you know her?" Min looks around, even though they're alone. "This isn't just a song. It's like a sign, a password, a very old family, not mafia, not business. They're like shadows. They say they deal with technology, very ancient and very secret. Almost no one has seen it, but legends surround it. This melody is used as an identifier by the most trusted people, as a final way to prove the message is real." Jin is silent, processing the information. The shadow family, the technology, the password song. And what's their connection to Ami's father? If he worked for them, or with them, and took something, then it makes sense why he and his family are being hunted so hard. This family doesn't forgive betrayal. They wipe their tracks forever. The next day, new information arrives. Min, using old connections and a hint of a melody, learns more. Amy's father, Liam, was indeed a brilliant physicist. He worked for several major corporations, but his activities have been untraceable for the past 5 years. He disappeared from all official records. Rumors circulated that he had found a private sponsor for his highly controversial energy research, a sponsor who disliked publicity. "Project Sol," says Jin. "That's his research, and that blue folder likely contains either data, samples, or formulas. Something game-changing. And that powerful family, the one behind the song, sponsored him. And now he's either run off with their property or tried to sell it, or simply hidden it for a bargaining chip. And they took his wife to force him to talk," Min adds. "And the girl, they think he might have confided in her, or that she knows where the folder is. A child is the weak link. It's easier to make him talk." Jin clenches his fists. Now he understands the scale of this. He's not caught up in a street brawl, but in a war with an invisible, extremely dangerous enemy. A family with enough power and resources to wipe anyone off the face of the earth, including him. 2 days after moving into the new apartment, something strange happens. Jin sends Ming to check on one of his legitimate businesses, a small warehouse. It's a routine inspection. An hour later, Min calls. His voice is tense. "Boss, it's clear here, but on the way back, I noticed a tail. Unprofessional. I lost it, but they knew my route from the warehouse. They know where I hang out. This isn't surveillance from the outside. It's a leak from the inside." Jin feels a chill run down his spine. Betrayal. In his own organization. Someone is reporting their movements, their plans. Someone who knows Jin is hiding the girl, or suspects. He thinks about the faces of his people. All proven. All have been through a lot. But the price of information about the Shadow family and their secret could be enormous. Enough to buy anyone. "Go back. Be careful. Don't tell anyone about the new place. Not even your trusted contacts." Jin pauses. "And Min, begin a quiet check. Everyone who knew about my route the day I found Amy, and everyone who knew about the first safe house." "Got it, boss." Jin hangs up. He stares at the wall. Enemies outside are one thing. He knows how to fight them. But the enemy within, it's like poison, slow and deadly. He turns. Amy is standing in the doorway of her room. She heard his last words. Her face is serious. "Are we in trouble?" she asks in simple terms. Jin looks at her, at a child who already understands too much for her age. "Yes." he answers honestly, but I'll deal with it. It's my job. A day after the conversation about the traitor, Jin receives a message. It arrives in an unusual way, via an old, barely used phone. The message is from an unknown number. It contains a short text and an address on the outskirts of the city. The text reads, "Woman is here. In exchange for a girl. Come alone. 11 p.m. Jin reads the message several times. He doesn't believe a word of it. It's too simple. Too direct. Real professionals don't work like that. They don't arrange meetings like in a bad movie. He shows the phone to Min when he arrives with a report on the people's check. Min frowns. It's a trap, definitely. They want to lure you out, or check if the girl is really with you, or they want to force us to reveal ourselves. Jin adds, if we go to check this address, they'll follow. They'll see the car, the route, maybe even our face. They'll pick up our trail. He puts the phone on the table. We're not going, that's obvious. Min nods in agreement. They both know the rules. Never give in to the enemy. But they didn't take one thing into account. Ami. The girl left her room to get a glass of water. She stands in the hallway and overhears their conversation. She hears the words trap, address, woman here. Her face becomes very focused. She doesn't leave. She waits for Min to leave. When Jin is alone, Ami approaches him. She looks him straight in the eyes. Her gaze is no longer childish. There is determination in it. It's about Mom, right? She asks quietly. Jin hesitates, but nods. There's no point in lying now. Yes, but it's a trap. We're not going. What if it's not a trap? Amy's voice trembles, but she keeps it together. What if she really is there and we don't come? That's not how it works, Ami. People like that, they don't send messages. They operate differently. But I want to go, Amy says firmly. She even takes a step forward. I can help, if we're close, if I hear something. Mom, she has a special cry when she's really scared. She screamed like that once when we got lost in a big store. I'd recognize it out of 1,000. Please. Jin looks at her. He sees more than just hope in her eyes. He sees despair. She's willing to take a risk. She's willing to walk into a potential trap if there's even one chance. It's dangerous, he says simply. It's already dangerous for me, Amy replies. Everywhere. And it's even more dangerous for Mom now. Jin turns away. He looks out the window at the dark courtyard. He knows this is a bad idea, a really bad one. But he also knows that if he refuses, and something happens to Omi's mother, he won't be able to look her in the eyes. And there's another thought. If they go, they'll expose themselves. But maybe they'll also learn something. See who's coming to this meeting. Get at least some clue about the enemy. Okay, he says without turning around. We'll go. But you do everything I say. No discussion. You'll stay in the car. You won't get out under any circumstances. You just listen. Understand? Amy whispers, her eyes lighting up with a mixture of fear and hope. They're driving to the outskirts of town late at night. Jin isn't driving his usual car, but an old, dingy one that Min pulled out of a back alley stash. Ami sits hunched over in the back seat, wearing a dark hat that hides her hair. The address leads to an industrial area, abandoned warehouses, dark streets, and sparse streetlights, the perfect spot for an ambush. Jean stops the car 2 blocks from the address. He turns off the headlights. There's silence all around, broken only by the distant rumble of the highway. Stay here, on the floor. Don't peek out. Just listen, he tells Amy. His voice is firm, commanding. He's back in his element, but with a huge burden of responsibility on his shoulders. He steps out. He doesn't go straight to the warehouse. He moves through the shadows, using every cover. His eyes scan the rooftops, windows, openings. He searches for movement, a glint of glass, a silhouette. The warehouse is a large, rusty building with broken windows. The gates are ajar. It's dark inside. Jin doesn't go inside. That would be suicide. He circles around, keeping his distance. He sees no cars nearby. He sees no sentries. He hears no sounds. The silence is too perfect. It is the silence of emptiness. He returns to the car 20 minutes later. He gets behind the wheel and starts the engine. Anything? Amy asks from the back seat, her voice tense. Nothing. No cars, no people, no sounds. Know your mom. The warehouse is empty. It was a decoy. Amy's face falls. She clasps her hands. She doesn't cry. She just looks out the dark window. So they knew we might come. They wanted to see if we'd show up, says Jean, pulling the car onto the dark road. And maybe they were following us, to see what kind of car we arrived in. Or to film you, He increases his speed. He needs to get out of this area as quickly as possible. They're driving back to the city. Amy's no longer hiding on the floor. She's sitting in the back seat, looking out the side window. The streets are getting brighter, and more cars and people are appearing. At one of the intersections, they stop at a red light. Amy automatically looks at the sidewalk. People are standing there, waiting for their turn. And suddenly, she freezes. Her body tenses like a string. Jean! Her voice sounds like a whip. Jean turns around instantly. What? There? She points, but doesn't stick her hand out. By the newspaper stand, the man in the gray cap. Jin looks. He sees a man. Middle-aged, short, wearing a simple jacket and a gray cap. The man stands, drinking coffee from a paper cup and watching the traffic. And then the man turns his head. His gaze glides over the cars. Stops on their old, nondescript one. For a split second. Then he moves on. But Amy's breathing is shallow and rapid. It's him! One of those. The ones who broke into our place. I remember him. He has a tattoo on his arm. A bird. He was showing Mom a gun, and I saw her when his sleeve rolled up. Jean looks at the man's hands. One holds a glass. The other is in his pocket. The sleeve of his jacket covers his wrist. The light turns green. Cars behind honk. The genie must go. He starts driving. At the last moment, he glances in the rearview mirror. The man in the gray cap turns away from the road and walks around the corner of the kiosk. He doesn't look after them. He acts as if he hasn't noticed anything. But Jin knows. And Amy knows. They were found. Or they simply crossed paths by chance. But in such a city, at such a time, that's too much of a coincidence. Are you sure? Jean asks as they drive away. Yes, I'm sure. It's him. They drive the rest of the way in tense silence. Jean constantly checks his mirrors. He makes unexpected turns, drives the same circle twice. He's looking for someone behind him. It looks like no one's there. But that doesn't mean anything. If they're using multiple machines, professionals, it's almost impossible to spot them. They return to their secret apartment through the back door. Jin quickly checks all the rooms, locks, and windows. Everything is in place. He sits down across from Amy in the kitchen. Did he see you? He asks. Amy thinks. I don't know. Maybe not. I was sitting in the back. The window was a little dirty. But he was looking at our car. Good. So they know the general area where we are now. Or they know we're active. They're testing us. That meeting at the warehouse was just one test. Today's meeting at the intersection could have been a coincidence, but it also might not have been. What are we going to do? Amy's voice becomes small and frightened again. Jin looks at her, at the girl who just identified one of her mother's kidnappers, who didn't cry, but told him. We're changing tactics, he says. They think we're hiding and afraid. Maybe it's time to show that we're not just hiding, that we're looking for something too. A plan is forming in his head, a dangerous one, but the only one that can turn the tide. If they just sit and wait, the enemy will find them. They need to act. They need to find the weak link in the enemy chain. And they now have one advantage. They know the face of one of the people who worked on that mission, the man with the bird tattoo. Tomorrow, says Jean, we begin our hunt. In the morning, Jin calls Min to the park. They meet on a bench, away from people. Ami sits nearby on a swing, swinging and watching the birds. She looks like any other child on a walk with her father and uncle. Jin speaks quietly, looking straight ahead. We need to find a man. Medium height, stocky. He has a tattoo of a bird on his left hand, probably on his wrist or forearm. He's one of the people who broke into Ami's apartment. Min nods, taking it in. He might have seen our car yesterday. That means they've narrowed the search to our area. But they don't know the exact address yet. Use your old connections on the street. Don't tell him why you need him. Just find him. Find out where he hangs out, who he hangs out with. Be very careful. If you sense any interest, dump him. Got it, says Min. He looks at the swinging Ami. What's wrong with her? She stays with me, always. We are no longer separated. Now she is my weak spot and my main proof. The enemy is targeting her, which means I must keep her in my sights. Min leaves. Jin approaches the swing. Let's go home. We're waiting today. Amy jumps off the swing. She takes his hand. It happens naturally, without thinking. Jin pauses for a second, then lets it happen. Her small, warm hand feels very fragile in his large one. 2 days pass. Min works quickly. He brings the first results to the apartment that evening. He places a printed black and white photograph in front of Jin. It's old, yellowed at the edges. The photograph shows a group of young men in lab coats standing in front of some large equipment. They're smiling. Jean immediately recognizes one of them. It's his father, a young man of about 25. His father died long ago when Jean was a teenager. Look at the man to the left of your father, Min says. Jin looks. A man with glasses, blonde hair, and an intelligent, open face. He seems familiar. And suddenly, Jin understands why. He saw this face in Ami's drawing. It's her father, Liam, many years ago. Where did you find this? I was digging around the girl's father, his scientific career. I came across old university archives. This photo was taken 30 years ago. They both worked on the same research project, Alternative Energy Pilot Program. Your father was an engineer. Ami's father was a leading theoretical physicist. Jin looks at the photo. His father and Amy's father. They stand shoulder to shoulder, like colleagues. Maybe like friends. His father never talked about it. Never. He only talked about his work at the factory, about simple things. He hid his past. Why did my father leave? Gene asks, more to himself. The project was shut down after 2 years. Officially, due to lack of funding. Unofficially, there are rumors that the research went too far. There were accidents. Some of the team, including your father, went into mainstream industry. Others, including Liam, continued to seek private sponsorship. Jin looks up at Min. Then the connection goes even deeper. It wasn't just a coincidence that Amy stumbled upon me. Looks like fate, boss, Min says quietly. After Min leaves, Jin sits for a long time with the photograph in his hands. He thinks about his father, about his quiet, reserved nature, about how he always said, "Stay away from big ideas, son. Big ideas bring big problems." Now Jin understands what he was talking about. His father was running from this Project Sun, from these secrets. He chose a simple life, and maybe that's why he died in that stupid accident at the factory, or maybe not in an accident. But Ami's father, Liam, took a different path. He continued his research, he found sponsors, that same shadow family, and he went too far, so far that now his family is being hunted. Jin looks at Amy. She's drawing at the kitchen table. A new drawing, 3 figures again, but in the background is not the sun, but a large gray house with many windows. A prison. He feels a heaviness in his chest. It's not just pity for the child, it's something more. His father once worked shoulder to shoulder with this girl's father. Perhaps they were friends. Perhaps his father, if he were alive, would ask him for help. It's a duty, not a debt of honor in the lofty sense, but a simple human duty. You help a friend's family, even if the friend is missing, even if it's dangerous. He approaches Amy. "My father knew your father," he says simply. Amy looks up at him with wide eyes. "Really?" "Yes. They worked together years ago." "Were they friends?" "I don't know, but they definitely knew each other." Amy looks at her drawing, then at Jin. "So you'll help Mom not just because I asked you to, but because it's the right thing to do?" "Yes," says Jean, "because it's right." The next day, a breakthrough comes. Not through the streets, but through Ming's old connections in the private security world. One of his acquaintances, who now works for the large security corporation Kronos, let it slip over a drink. He said their special assignments unit had acquired a special asset, a woman. She was being held not in prison, but in a safe house in the north of the city, under 24-hour guard. The woman wasn't a criminal. She was a key witness. Min passes this information on to Jin. He also gives a possible address. Not an exact one, but a neighborhood. Kronos isn't a gang, Min explains. It's a legitimate, powerful corporation. They have contracts with the government and big business. If they're holding Ami's mother, that means they're a very serious client, and a very legitimate one at that. That shadow family is using them as a facade. Jin feels both relief and renewed tension. Relief because Ami's mother is likely alive and being treated normally. Her value as a witness and hostage is too great. Tension because Kronos isn't a kidnapping ring. It's an institution. It's harder to fight. You can't just show up and snatch someone by force. They have laws, connections, permissions. "We need to reach out to them," says Jean. "Find out what they want. Maybe we can come to an agreement." Jin takes direct action. Through a proxy, he requests a meeting with the Kronos representative in charge of special assets. He makes it clear he represents a party interested in the girl. The meeting is scheduled for a neutral location, a conference room at a business center. Jin arrives alone. He's wearing a formal suit. He looks like a businessman. The Kronos representative is a man in his 50s, with a short gray haircut and attentive eyes. He introduces himself as Mr. Cho. There's nothing on the table between them, just 2 glasses of water. We understand that you have certain information that interests our client, Mr. Cho begins. His voice is even, professional. The girl. Our client is prepared to offer a trade. You hand over the girl to us. We will release the woman immediately. And furthermore, the client is prepared to pay you a substantial reward for your efforts. A figure with 6 zeros, cash or any account. Jin maintains a stony face. Why is the girl so important to your client? She's a child, Cho says politely but firmly. Your concern is accepting a reasonable offer. The girl is a stranger to you. You get the money and the gratitude of a very influential person. You move on with your life. Everyone wins. And if I refuse? Mr. Cho bows his head slightly. Then you become a problem for our client. And my client solves problems. Ultimately, you've meddled in a matter that doesn't concern you. You can get out of it gracefully. Or not at all. Silence hangs in the air. The threat isn't spoken, but it's there, in every word. Jin looks at the water in the glass. He's not thinking about the money. He's thinking about the photograph of his father's, about Amy's hand in his, about her whisper, "Hide me." He looks up at Mr. Cho. "No." Mr. Cho blinked. He seemed surprised by such a blunt refusal. "I'm asking you to think about it. This isn't an emotional decision. It's business." "My answer is no," Jean repeats. He stands up. "The girl remains under my protection. Release her mother, and then perhaps we can talk further." Now Mr. Cho's face turns cold. "You're making a mistake. A big one. You're declaring war on more than just a gang. You're declaring war on the system." Cho's gaze on him, a gaze full of foreboding doom. Jin returns to the apartment. He gathers his closest people, Min and 2 other old, trusted fighters, So and Tae. He tells them directly about the meeting, the offer, and his refusal. "Kronos and their client are our enemies now," he says. "We protect the girl, until the end." Min nods silently. He's already made his decision. But So and Tae look at each other. Soch, a man with a rough face and a calm demeanor, speaks first. "Boss, this isn't our war. We're doing our job. We have our own problems. Kronos is a mountain. We can't fight a mountain. The girl is under our protection," Jean says firmly. "That makes her our problem." Tae, younger and more impulsive, shakes his head. "But because of a child, we're risking the whole business. All the people. We'll just be wiped out. They're legal. They have police, courts, everything. Then we'll be more careful," says Jean. But he sees confusion and fear in their eyes. Fear not of a fight, but of a system they can't win against. That same evening, as So and Tae leave, Min approaches Jin. "You need to be careful, boss. Not everyone in the organization will understand this choice. People are afraid. And where there's fear, there's betrayal." "An informant?" Jin asks. "Perhaps. Or just someone willing to save their own skin and turn us over to Kronos in exchange for safety." 2 days pass. The situation escalates. The organization's routine operations begin to stall. Calls come in from partners. They've been investigated by tax authorities, fire departments, and the police. Minor but intrusive inspections. This is pressure. The first warning shot. And then the incident happens. Tae, the one who doubted, doesn't answer the phone. He was supposed to check one of the warehouses. He doesn't call. His phone is turned off. Min goes to check. He finds the warehouse empty. And on the table by the entrance lies Tae's phone, broken. Next to it is a Kronos business card. Blank, no writing, just a logo. This is the message. Clear and terrify. Ing. They took one of his men, to show they can take anyone, and that the informant might already be among them. Tae could have turned them in himself, or he could have been kidnapped to force the information out of him. Jean stands in the center of the empty apartment. Amy watches him from her room. She heard everything. "Is it because of me?" she asks quietly. Jin turns to her. He sees the guilt in her eyes. "No, it's because of them, because of their choices. They chose the path of threats. We chose a different path. Now there's a war. And in war, there are casualties. But we will not give up." He says this to comfort her. But inside, he's cold. He knows the point of no return has been passed. Now he must protect not only Ami, but also the remnants of his organization. And to do that, he needs to strike back. Not defensively, but offensively. He needs to find a weakness in Kronos, or their mysterious client. And he needs to do it quickly, before the pressure crushes them completely. He has only one lead, the man with the bird tattoo, the man who was at the crime scene. Not a Kronos mercenary, but a simple gangster. Perhaps through him, he can find those who hired him, the real masterminds behind the cover of a legitimate corporation. Tay's disappearance. Tension hangs in the air, like before a storm. Jin barely sleeps. He constantly checks the windows, listens for sounds in the entryway. Amy has become very quiet. She barely speaks, just draws or stares into space. That evening, Jin stands in the kitchen, staring at the screen of his secure tablet. Min delivers a report. The pressure on business continues. People are nervous. The search for the man with the bird tattoo has so far yielded no results. He seems to have vanished. Suddenly, Amy looks up. She's sitting on the living room floor. "Do you hear that?" she whispers. Jin freezes. He doesn't hear anything unusual. The usual sounds of an old house, the creaking of pipes, the rustling of the wind outside the window. What? The elevator. It was going up, and it stopped. Not on our floor, on the floor below. Jin listens. He didn't hear the elevator, but he trusts her hearing. Children notice such things. Maybe the neighbors, he says, but he's already moving toward the door. He peers through the peephole. The hallway is empty, but for some reason, the light is dim. Usually, the bright lamp on the ceiling is on full blast. Now it's barely glowing. Jin feels an icy pang of anxiety. It's an old trick. First, they turn off the lights on the landing so no one can see through the peephole. Then, he quickly moves away from the door. "Ami? Jacket. Shoes? Now. Silently!" His voice is so harsh that Amy jumps up without question. She pulls on her pink jacket and sneakers. Jin doesn't take anything. He grabs only a pistol from a hiding place behind a cabinet panel and a phone. He wakes the screen and sends Ming a quick code. Compressed? Exit 2. This means the safe house has been compromised. They're leaving through the back exit. The emergency exit is a hatch in the storage room floor leading to a utility shaft, and from there to the adjacent building. Min took this into account when choosing the apartment. Jin opens the hatch. It's dark below and smells of dust. "Go. Down the stairs. Wait for me downstairs by the green door. Don't go outside." Ami nods, her eyes wide with fear, but she doesn't cry. She lowers herself into the hatch and begins to descend the old iron ladder. At that moment, the first knock sounds at the door. Dull, heavy. Not an attempt to open it, an attempt to knock it down. Jin takes one last look at the apartment and jumps into the hatch, pulling the cover toward himself. He hears the apartment door give way with a bang when he's halfway down. He catches up with Amy at the green door in the basement of the neighboring building. She presses into the corner, trembling. Jin opens the door. Beyond is a narrow passage, and then another door leading to the front garden at the back of the house. They step out into the cold night. Jin looks around. There's no one in the courtyard, but light shines through the window of their former apartment on the 4th floor. Someone is already there. "Let's run," he whispers, and they creep along the walls, disappearing into the darkness of the alleys. They walk for over an hour. Jin leads Amy through deserted streets, constantly changing direction. He doesn't call a car. He doesn't call anyone except Min. One quick call. "We're out. Clean. I'll be in touch." Finally, they arrive at an old industrial area, almost abandoned. Among the warehouses and garages stands a small, one-story house, clad in gray siding. It looks abandoned. A broken window is boarded up with plywood, and the yard is overgrown with weeds. Jin approaches the door. Instead of a key, he presses certain spots on the doorframe in a complex sequence. A soft click is heard. The door opens. It's dark, cold, and smells of dust and mustiness inside. Jin turns on the flashlight on his phone. This isn't a house. It's his father's former hunting lodge, a place he brought Jean to as a child a couple of times. His father called it the last refuge. No one, not even Jean's mother, knew about it. Jean himself hadn't been here in over 15 years. He checks the premises. One room, a small kitchenette, a stove. No water, no power, no connection, only solid walls and secrecy. "We'll stay here," he tells Amy. She stands in the middle of the room, looking around. It's safe. No one knows about this place. He finds an old box of provisions in the corner, left by his father for a rainy day. Canned goods in tins, packages of crackers, bottles of water, blankets, all vacuum sealed, still usable. He lights the stove. After a while, the room gets a little warmer. There's no light, just the flame from the stove and the screen of Jin's phone, which he rarely turns on to conserve battery. Amy sits on a blanket, wrapped in another. She looks at the fire. "We're like refugees." she says quietly. Yes, but we're alive, and we're free, Jin replies. The next day, Amy, to distract herself, begins exploring the house. She carefully opens old cabinets and peers into drawers. Everything is covered in a thick layer of dust. In one of the cabinets, behind a pile of old newspapers, she finds a small metal box. It's heavy and locked with a small combination lock. Jean, look! She calls. Jean approaches. He looks at the box. It doesn't look like his father's things. He picks it up. The lock is simple, 4-digit. He tries several obvious combinations. His father's birth dates, his own childhood dates. It doesn't open. Ami looks at the box. She thinks about her drawing, about the sunny house, about Dad. Try sun, she says suddenly. What? A code. Dad made all his codes related to the sun. The code on his phone was 4786. He said it was the surface temperature of the sun, minus the last digit. I don't remember exactly. Jean looks at the 4-digit lock. He searches his memory. The temperature of the sun's surface is about 5,500 degrees Celsius. Without the last digit, 550? That's 3 digits. Or maybe 5505 or 5500. He turns the wheels. 550. The lock does not open. Amy closes her eyes, trying to remember. Not the temperature? Maybe the distance? From the Earth to the sun? Jin is Googling on his phone, saving battery. The average distance is about 149 million kilometers. Doesn't work. Or maybe just a word? Amy says. SOL. In numbers? On old phones, the letters were on top of the numbers. S, 7, O, 6, L, 5, 765. And the last one? Sun. S, 7, U8, N 6, 786. The genie scrolls. 7, 8, 6, one number missing, a 4-digit code. Maybe another number at the end? Or at the beginning? Try 4786, Amy says again. The one I remember. The genie sets 4, 7, 8, 6. There is a quiet but distinct click. The lock opens. They look at each other in the dim light. The genie slowly opens the lid. Inside, there's not a stack of papers. There's just one thing, small, silver, in a clear plastic case, a flash drive, and on it, a sticker. Hand-drawn on it is that very symbol, a circle with rays, a solar house, and the signature, Project Phoenix, final copy. Jin takes the flash drive. It's cold and light. The blue folder, Amy whispers. Daddy told me about the blue folder, but this isn't a folder. He probably moved the contents, or it was always a flash drive, and folder was just a code word. He hid it here, in my father's house. So, he trusted my father. Until the very end, Jin connects the flash drive to his phone via an adapter. It contains only one file, not a text document. It's an encrypted container. A password is required to open it. They try the same codes, 4786 solar numbers. It doesn't open. Maybe I need something only I knew, Amy says. She thinks. Daddy said, our biggest secret. The secret of our solar home. She suddenly stands up and goes to her backpack, where her old drawing is. She looks at it, then shows it to Jean. There it is. Our home. It's always been with us. Dad used to say that the password is what makes a house a home. Jin looks at the drawing. 3 figures. Mom, Dad, Amy, and a sunny house. Names? He asks. Your family names? They try name combinations. Liam, Sarah, Amy. None work. Mom's favorite song? Ami says, humming the same tune. Jin enters the title of the song he learned from Min. It doesn't work. Ami looks at the caption on the drawing. My family. It's written in English. My family. Try my family, she says. The genie enters. It's rejected. He looks at the date in the corner of the drawing. A child's hand has written there, 12 March, perhaps the day the drawing was made. Try the date, he says. He enters 1203. It doesn't open. They sit in silence, staring at the flickering screen. Ami suddenly says, very quietly, Daddy, he always kissed me goodnight and said one phrase, in the same language Mom sang in. He said, sleep well, my sunshine. You're the key to everything. I thought they were just sweet words. Jin looks at her. Remember what it sounds like? In that language? Amy nods. She utters strange, soft words. Jin doesn't understand them, but he writes them down in Latin as he hears them. He enters this phrase into the password field. The phone screen freezes for a second. Then a loading bar appears. And the container opens. Inside are hundreds of files, blueprints, formulas, test reports, financial documents bearing the seals of the mysterious family, correspondence. And the main file, Conclusion. It describes the essence of the Phoenix Project, a technology capable of generating massive amounts of clean energy from a new source, a technology that could destroy energy monopolies and collapse markets, and evidence that the sponsoring family planned to use it not for the good of the world, but for control and super profits, suppressing development. Ami's father, Liam, realized this. He copied all the evidence and hid it. This is the blue folder, the key to the destruction of an entire corporation and its shadowy masters. Jin has power now. He has what the enemy wants. But that doesn't change the danger. The enemy is strong and desperate. They will kill Amy's mother if they feel threatened. Jin waits a day. Then, using the last percent of his battery and catching a weak signal at the edge of the roof, he contacts Min. He doesn't say where he is. He gives instructions. Set a meeting. Mr. Cho from Kronos. Tell him, we have a solar asset. We're willing to exchange it for a woman. The time and place are ours. One-on-one. No snipers, no tails. If I see even one extra person, I'll destroy the asset before their eyes. Min takes the risk and passes on the message. The answer comes quickly. They agree. They also want to end this. The meeting is scheduled for 2 days later. The location is an old pedestrian bridge over a river in an industrial area. At night, there's little cover there, but a good view. Jin devises a plan. He doesn't trust them. He knows they'll try to take the flash drive, Amy, and him. He has a plan B and a plan C. He explains to Amy, you'll go with Min to a safe place. I'll meet them, give them the flash drive, and pick up your mother. Then we'll all meet. Amy looks at him. What if they trick you? I have ways to stop them, but you have to be safe. That's the most important thing. She doesn't want to, but she agrees. She understands that now is not the time for arguments. The night of the meeting is cold and windy. The old bridge is lit by only a couple of dim lanterns. On one side of the bridge stands Gene. He is alone. In his coat pocket is a flash drive. Another, a pistol. 2 figures appear on the other side of the bridge. Mr. Cho. And with him is a woman. She walks unsteadily, her hands bound in front of her. It's Sarah, Amy's mother. She looks tired, scared, but unharmed. They meet in the center of the bridge. The wind whistles through the metal structures. Where is the girl? Mr. Cho asks immediately. Safe, far away. Let the woman go first. Mr. Cho looks at him coldly, then nods to one of his men standing in the shadows on the other bank. He says something into the radio. Sarah steps forward. Jin takes a step too, holding out his hand with the flash drive. At that moment, he sees a barely noticeable movement on the roof of a building in the distance. A glare. A sniper. He doesn't stop the exchange. He knows the sniper won't fire until they have the flash drive. He places the flash drive in Mr. Cho's hand. At the same moment, he pushes Sarah behind him, directing her toward his side of the bridge. Run! To the other end! He shouts at her. Sarah, stunned, runs. Mr. Cho grabs the flash drive and retreats. He raises his hand, signaling the sniper. But there's no shot. Instead, 2 SUVs emerge from behind the cars on the other bank. They're Min's men. They're blocking the way for Cho's men. Min gets out of the car, holding a tablet. On the screen, a countdown appears until all files in the blue folder are sent to major news outlets and regulatory agencies. His finger is on the button. You have the flash drive, Min says loudly, so Cho can hear. But the copies are already online. If we don't get out of here in one piece and get confirmation that Ami's family is safe on their way somewhere else, the files will be gone in 3 minutes. You can kill us, but the truth will come out. Your Phoenix project will become public knowledge. Your client doesn't want that. Mr. Cho freezes. His face contorts with rage. He grips the flash drive so tightly his knuckles turn white. He realizes he's been outplayed. Killing him now won't solve the problem. It will make it worse. He makes a sharp gesture with his hand. His men lower their weapons. Get out! He hisses. Min opens the SUV door. Amy is inside. She jumps out and runs to her mother, who is already safe on shore. They hug, crying. Amy then turns around. She sees Jin. He's still standing on the bridge, alone, between the 2 warring sides. She breaks free from her mother's embrace and runs across the bridge to him. She runs up and hugs him around the waist, tightly, pressing her face into his coat. "Thank you," she whispers. Just one word, but it says everything. Jin places his hand on her head. He doesn't know what to say. He just looks at her mother, who looks at him with gratitude and fear. "It's time to go," Min says. "We don't have much time." Amy lets go of Jin. She looks at him with her wide eyes, then returns to her mother. They get into one of the SUVs. Jin stands and watches as the cars turn around and drive off into the night, taking Amy and her mother to a new life. Under the protection of Min's loyal men, who now have instructions and money to keep them safe far from here. Mr. Cho and his men silently walk away in the opposite direction, holding the dummy flash drive. The real copy is already in Ming's possession, and the threat of its disclosure will now hang over them forever, ensuring the family's safety. Jin stands alone on the cold bridge. The wind blows stronger. In his pocket lies a small crumpled piece of paper, the very same drawing, "My family." Amy thrust it into his hand at the last second. He unfolds it. He looks at the three happy figures and the sunny house. He understands that his world will never be the same. He's no longer just a boss. He's become something else. A man who protected someone else's child. A man who fulfilled his duty to his father. A man who now has a void where once there was only cold determination. He turns and walks away from the bridge, into the darkness, alone. But not entirely. He has a memory now, and a drawing in his pocket. The cars carrying Ami, her mother, and Min disappear into the night. The noise of their engines fades, dissolving into the city hum. Jin stands on the bridge for a few more minutes. He looks at the black water below. It's over. Mission accomplished. He takes a deep breath of cold air. Then he turns and walks away. He doesn't return to the old hunting lodge. He's fulfilled that duty. He walks a few blocks until he finds a quiet street. There, another car awaits him, the last of the reliable ones, with a driver who has been silently working for him for years. He gets into the back seat. "To the office," he says. His office in the city center feels alien. It's too clean, too impersonal. There's no trace of a child's drawing. No smell of soup, no quiet humming. The reports are coming in this morning. The situation is complicated. Kronos isn't officially attacking, but the pressure continues. Some of its people, fearing a war with a legitimate entity, have left. The business is suffering losses. We need to restore order, negotiate, and reassure our partners. Min arrives in the afternoon. He looks tired but happy. They're safe, in a new city. They have new documents, an apartment, a bank account. The mother found a job. The girl will start a new school in a week. Jean nods. That's all he needed to know. "What about the flash drive?" he asks. "The copies are in a safe place. The threat of disclosure is working. Kronos has backed down. They got their way. They took a dummy flash drive and now think we destroyed the originals. But they know we can strike if they touch the family again." "Okay," says Jean. That's the end of it. The days go by. Jin returns to his old life. Meetings, negotiations, orders. Everything is as before, but something has changed. Sometimes, sitting at his enormous desk, he catches himself looking out the window, not with the appraising gaze of a boss, but with a thoughtful look. He remembers the small hand clutching his coat, how it said, "Hide me." He takes a crumpled drawing from his inside jacket pocket. He carefully smooths it out on the table. "My family. Sunny house." He looks at it for a few minutes, then folds it just as carefully and puts it back. It's his little secret, his reminder. A month passes. Life returns to normal. The traitor within the organization has been identified. It was one of the accountants, bribed by Kronos. Jin deals with this on his own terms. Order is restored. One morning, when he comes into the office, he finds a small envelope on his desk. There is no name on it, only his initials. He opens it. Inside is a new photograph, a color one, printed on plain paper. It shows Amy and her mother. They're standing against the backdrop of some park, smiling. Ami is wearing a new jacket, a blue one. There's no fear on her face, only calm. Ami is holding a piece of paper, but what's on it is invisible. On the back of the photograph, written in a child's handwriting, are just two words, "We are home." And the signature, Ami. Jean looks at the photograph for a long time. Then he puts it in the same jacket pocket where the old drawing is. He goes to the window. The city is noisy below, living its own life. His world hasn't returned to its former state. It's become different, quieter inside, more complex. He turns to his desk. to the cases awaiting him. But now, somewhere far away, there is a sunny house and a girl who is safe, and this knowledge warms him from within, even in the coldest office. The case is closed.